Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's version of the Awesome Dynamics Show. I am here with Paul Dwarian, owner of the company, Tim Dwarian, who's our Amazon expert. I have Robin, our SEO expert, and I also have Blake, who is our SEO and Amazon expert, a man of multiple tasks and skills. Anyhow, we want to get right to our content today and get things going. So if everybody wants to say a quick hello.
Hey.
Hey
Ahoy.
guys, glad you're with us today. Lots of exciting stuff.
All right, and as we typically do, we're going to start off with Robin, who is going to talk about our latest blog. And Robin, what's our subject for today?
Today it's fresh content. So we want to make sure that your site is super fresh.
And so clean.
Wait, fresh content? I thought this was about donuts. I saw something in here about Krispy Kreme.
Oh yeah, there are some Krispy Kremes in here.
Okay. All right, here we go.
All right, so actually Google came out with a patent a while ago in 2011, and it was all about fresh content. It was actually called information retrieval based on historical data. And so there was a lot of clues hidden in that patent that over the years people have been interpreting. SEOs in the community, they've been trying to figure out exactly how to make your content the freshest and most effective on your website. So just so you know that there's no guarantee how Google's algorithm actually applies all of these rules. But we have, hints and clues. So over the years, there's been a lot of testing, and this is kind of a summary of the best ways to get your fresh content on your site. Okay, so there's lots of different kinds of sites. There's, if you have a magazine, if you have a newspaper, if you have a blog, pretty much every website should have a blog if you're trying to sell services or products. So the date that you start all of those pieces of content, you're going to have tons of archives in the past. If you blog weekly, monthly, however often you blog or post new articles and make new pages on your site, you're most likely not going to have new services or new products often, but you will have, regular blogs and posts basically every week. So how do you know? How does Google know how to keep those fresh, and how do we make sure that our site is ranking above our competitors? The first is the inception date. Yeah, but not Leonardo DiCaprio, but it is the inception from Google. So Google recognizes the inception date when it actually crawls the site. So let's say you post on a Friday, but Google doesn't actually crawl your site as often because you don't have a lot of fresh content, so they might not get to it for like a month. Some sites you can they crawl often, so they might just get it right away. But if you really want to guarantee that Google's going to see your article closer to when you publish it, just all you have to do is log into your Webmaster Tools, or it's now called Search Console, and submit your sitemap to Google. All right. So, and the fresh.
So Robin, is that what you're really saying? Is that if you can get them to crawl your site and check the new content by doing that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And if you have a lot of fresh content all the time, what happens is they crawl your site more often automatically.
Okay.
All right. So fresh content and the amount of change is the second one you can do to keep your website fresh. That's just regularly updating your content. If you just change a sentence in an old blog, that's not really going to do it. But if you make a big impact and throughout the document, so let's say you made a change in the first paragraph, you added some links, maybe more bullet points, an update, and it's kind of throughout the entire document, then Google will recognize that as a change. And you don't necessarily have to change the dates. You can just put the same date, or if you want to put it at the top of your blog, you can refresh the date to the new one. But just refreshing the date alone is not going to do it either. All right, so working your fresh content core. You can make changes to the body of the content. So this just means that if people make changes or they put comments at the bottom, or if you make changes in the navigation or their footer, it's not even going to matter. What Google's looking for is for changes in the actual body and content of the article or blog or whatever piece of content it is.
So, Robin, are we talking about? I mean, I know you're talking about blogs, and I wanted to ask you how often that you think people should be doing a new blog, first of all. But I also, so are you talking about, say, on a homepage, actually making changes to some of the content there, or are you talking about adding new and different things, or both?
Refreshing your content is more about your archives. So yes, if you can definitely update and always be adding to your main service pages. For example, adding frequently asked questions to the bottom, maybe adding more pictures, updating videos. So that's something that you should be doing on a regular basis. How often is hard to say. It just depends on your industry and your competitors. Uh, but mostly what this is talking about is if you have old archives, old blogs, old articles, tons and tons of content that you just pretty much don't. But if you went back a few years, it would be not relevant to your core audience anymore. So we're just looking for anything that is older that can be updated. Whole point is to help your audience and keep them on the page longer. So if it's not relevant anymore, it's an old article and it's not good information, they're going to leave your website.
So, if you have a page that has, a blog every week, and you're going back to the ones that might be a few months old and doing some updates and some content changing to the old ones just to freshen them up.
Yeah, and I would say even a few months, it's pretty fresh still. Probably after 6 months or a year, it's not going to be as fresh, but it also depends on your industry. If your industry is fashion, it might be out of style next week. But if your industry is, mechanical parts to fix cars, I mean, it might not change for a while.
Okay. Is there ever a time where old, like really old, like say if you're doing one every week and you have some that are a year old, and are we ever wanting to take some of those down and just, clean it up that way, or are we just looking to sort of clean them up, freshen them up, and keep them? Are we just building that library over time?
That's kind of the million-dollar question there, is that no one knows exactly how Google's algorithm works. So, um, and it also depends on your website and how much content you have. So, one option is it depends on how much content you have. So, if you have a ton, it could be a monetary thing where you just have, it's costing you extra money every month to have all that data on the server and load all the time. Another reason why you would cut down on the content is because maybe you're ranking for too many pages and all that SEO juice that you're in power that you're trying to put on your service pages is just being distributed and diluted across hundreds or maybe thousands of pages. The other reason what you could do is de-index some of your old content. So only have the pages that you really want to rank and the blogs you really want to rank on and your best ones ranking on Google. But you can also just take your old blogs and update them as well. But you can see that if you have thousands of blogs, it could take a lot of manpower to keep updating these. And how often should you update old blogs? I mean, yeah, it could be anytime from they're old a month ago to it could be a couple of years, or even I've seen blogs last online for years and years just because they're a good blog and the subject matter's good and it's a question that a lot of people search. So older blogs could be ranking more than some of the more current blogs. So its freshness isn't always about the date as well.
I
Got
got a
it.
quick comment on that.
Yeah.
Robin, you're rewriting some of the different blogs that we have all the time, and we're looking at what we may have posted a year or two ago, and we're updating those different blogs to have more fresh and current content because the world of SEO is always changing. And that's something where you can put that into your strategy. You could say, you know what, I'm going to write, once you get to a point where maybe you have 100 blogs, maybe what you'll do is start cycling back and refreshing maybe one blog twice. Maybe this week 1 and 2, I'm going to refresh an old blog and bring it back, bring the date up to the top, and refresh the content that's on there and supplement it, maybe remove and change it, and then maybe the last 2 weeks of the month, you'll write new content. So you can start working that into the schedule rather than writing one new blog every week. So that's another strategy to use as well. The other thing that I want to comment on is exactly what Robin had just said, was some of these blogs, rather than removing them, if they have a lot of traction, you certainly don't want to get rid of it. I've talked to people that have had blogs. I remember one person in particular that had that was the corner of the county that we live in here. And he had a blog about drunk driving and some of the different implications of that. And it was a blog that he wrote when he was the coroner in Lake County, I'd say maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago. And he said that that blog still gets tremendous traffic, even though it's almost 10 years old. So sometimes you can have something that really resonates with people. If it's a great piece of content, people will continue to search for it and find it useful. So you don't want to just remove that.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, and speaking about removing, that's something that a lot of people are afraid to do almost. Like they don't want to take anything they ever wrote off of the blog. Well, if it's no longer relevant and you can't really save it, I mean, don't think that there's a problem with deleting old content off of your blog.
And it's right to be afraid, especially from the standpoint of doing it the right way. So a lot of people just delete pages or remove pages from their website, whether those are blog posts or anything else, without doing a proper 301 redirect. So that's that URL that's up in the bar. So yourdomain.com/whatever's at the end of that. If you change that or you just remove the page completely, then Google will see that you have a link that was there that isn't there anymore. And essentially you're going to do what's called a 301 redirect. So this way, if someone was to visit the link, it redirects them to another place. Kind of like a change of address at the post office. You just got to let them know, hey, it's not here anymore. This is where it is, or it's not here anymore. Come back to the home page. So that's really important to do if you're going to have it redirect somewhere else. You're going to change the permalink of the blog article or page, or whatever the situation is, making sure that you're not just deleting a page without handling that. Because if you have Google Webmaster Tools or Google Search Console set up on your site, Google will flag it and tell you in there, hey, you have a 404 not found on your website. People may have linked to this. We have it indexed. You should do something about that to make sure that's not there, because that can help you move down in the search results if you don't handle that appropriately.
Yeah. And here's something that's not in this article is what services are making you the most money? And if that is not the thing that you're blogging about the most, and then you should change that. Or if your service has changed over the years and now you make a lot more on one service versus the other. Make sure your blog reflects that, and let's say you make 50% of your income on or your profit on one service versus your 3 other services, well then 50% of your blog should probably reflect that.
That's what we're working on right now. Most of our new revenue is coming in from the Amazon side of our business, and that's why we're making the second half of all our webinars dealing with Amazon, and we're cutting those all out as videos that we put on specific blogs pertaining to those Amazon topics. So doing that can really help beef up the content and the information about that service that'll help us promote it better online.
All right, you know what? And that'll be a perfect place for me to jump in real quick, because we're talking about Amazon. We're talking about great content. Can we have a look at our website real quick? I want to jump in here for a second.
Sure.
Talk about Awesome Dynamic and what we do. So Amazon Seller Consulting is becoming a really large part of what we do here at Awesome Dynamic. We are taking companies anywhere from small startups to bigger companies with thousands and thousands of SKUs and helping them increase their sales dramatically on Amazon. So we are going to be talking about that a little bit later, part of Amazon, and adding some more of that to our webinars as we move forward. Besides our Amazon Seller Consulting end of things, we also are looking to get you new targeted customers. We have customers calling us, new customers, every day, and we want you to be in that same boat. So every day, people from all over the country and even all over the world are calling Awesome Dynamic to talk about our services. We can do that for you as well. We do that with responsive web design. We do that with SEO services to help you get found on Google, as we're talking about today. We also do the Google Virtual Tour, which can be a great tool to have people be able to preview your business, as well as give you a nice SEO boost by having that if your competition does not. So on our website, you'll find our blogs. You will find our awesome list where we can get you signed up so you can keep up to speed on everything that's going on here. We also have some live events that we're promoting that you can see on here as well. And we also have a place, lastly, where you can give us a Google 5-star review, which we would also always appreciate. And would really be thrilled if you would give us one if you appreciate our content. Last thing I wanted to say real quick is that we have a mechanism on here where you can ask us questions at any time. Paul and Blake, I believe, are monitoring those questions. Guys, anything coming through so far?
So far, nothing yet.
All right, well, don't be bashful, and if you're having trouble for any reason doing it through the link on the website, on that website for the webinar, you can always send something over to Terry at awesomedynamic.com, and we'll get those answered for you. We love to have the people that are watching jump in. Don't be bashful. All right, well, that's all I have on that. So did I miss anything?
I got another thing I'd like to promote, but I'll do that at the segue between the first and second segment.
Fantastic. All right, so Robin, you want to jump back in for us, please?
Sure. A couple things we already went over. Basically, the rate and the frequency of your content change. How often do you change it? And then adding an amount of new pages. So some people say that, like web teams say that you should add 20 to 30% new pages every year, but a lot of people say that's also unnecessary. For Awesome Dynamic, I blog once a week. They say the minimum is like once a month put a new blog on your website, but more often is always better. And doing fresh content and earning new links as well are two things that really boost your website above competitors. So speaking of links, when you have tons of links that are not spam links, so really good links, they could be like from a .gov website or .edu website, those are really good links, or from a website that has a really high page rank, and just really natural links that you get from maybe other bloggers, or you just have great content so people want to link to you. That just signals to Google, it's not just the freshness of your content, it's also how relevant it is to people. So you can't just put out articles about anything. You want to make sure that they're well researched and that you're answering people's real questions.
So Robin, why are those .gov, .edu links so valuable?
Because they're hard to get. So if they're hard to get and then you get links to them, it means that it's almost like, okay, so this is perfect for this one. You're cool. You're cool. You're cool. I guess I'm cool too. So if you have cool people linking to you, that means you're also cool. I use this analogy of you're sitting at the cool kids table at lunch, that means you're cool too. So if you have bad links, and that means that you're following like bad neighborhoods and bad crowd, that's what they call them in SEO, is like you're linking to bad neighborhoods. So you don't want to link to websites that are ranking lower than you, and you can see your page score, your page rank it. You can just Google that and look at what your score is. It's out of 100. So websites that score less than you, they're going to be a bad idea to link to or get links from. Websites that score higher than you, most .gov and .edus will probably be higher than you, but it doesn't have to be that either. Any industry links or prominent bloggers or just big news sources, I mean anything like that, or even local newspapers and things like that. Anything your competitors don't have. It could be even local chambers, websites. So basically, if you have great, they have a great status with Google, and then they link to you, that some of that's going to pass on over to you onto your website.
Got it.
All right.
Got to be a cool kid, Terry.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Not one of the bad kids. Not the bad kids. The cool kids that aren't bad.
This is the cool kid table. What are you talking about?
That's right.
We're all sitting at it.
All right, Robin, what's next?
So Google tries to see, okay, what is the intent or what's the hot topic? So you'd have to combine freshness and relevancy. So Google looks at your stats for that. So if someone searches for, I don't know, what's a topic that you're interested in?
I'm interested in property in Florida.
Okay, so if you're looking for some property in Florida, Google's going to see if you have good stats. Like, do you have, when you show up, if your blog article all about the top property or hot areas in Florida. If always shows up and people click on it a lot, that's your click-through rate. So if that's high, which 1% is high, or even higher, and then all the other results, and people spend a lot of time on your website and they click on multiple pages, and then that's going to signal to Google, okay, for this keyword, this topic, this is super relevant, and this is fresh content, people like this site, and then they're going to put you up higher on Google.
You know, I always thought would be good is, Robin, you always look for the food happy hours in the area, but I just thought the drink happy hours, it'd be nice to have one place to go to know who's got which happy hour each day of the week.
Yeah, if there's sites that list those out there, and then they can get a ton of traffic just from that, and then you're already on their site. So
hey, we got a question that came in, so I'd like to see what Ira has to say. Ira Hendon, thank you for joining us. Ira says, do you have a recommended content length for articles and blog posts? My content is older, and he says 2 to 3 years. However, our posts have been over 700 words, and it takes time to create good content. Are we better off creating more frequent or shorter content? Robin, you want to take a stab at that first?
Sure. So in terms of length of content, I mean, 300 words is only about 2 paragraphs. So you can definitely make short blog articles, but it depends on your audience. So if they are, if it's a more scientific website, and then they're used to reading huge, long articles with no pictures, and if they, if it's more of a lighter topic, maybe they're used to shorter articles. But if I had to choose between posting more often and shorter content and super high quality content but less frequent, I would say both strategies are actually good. It just depends on what your industry is and how many work hours you have, really. So.
And how many employees you can delegate that to. But you know what?
Right.
The other way that I like to look at it is satisficing is a new word that I learned not too long ago from a strategic partner of ours.
Could you say that again, please?
Satisficing. So
okay.
it's your 80% rule. You know, the perfection hinders progress. So what you can do is look at doing something part way, and with the idea that you're going to go back and continue to improve it and make it better. So if you want to have a strategy where you post pretty often but with less quality, maybe not the highest quality content ever, that's one way to go for. And then knowing that in the future you're going to recycle through all those blogs, not recycle, but go back to all those blogs and improve them over time and continue to beef them up and make them better. I think that would be a great way to go. Or you can spend a whole bunch of time making one really kick-ass blog post and put that together and then release it. But that can take a lot more time. There's a lot more anxiety in getting it just right, and that's where that whole progress or perfection hinders progress can really get in your way. So if you look at it more of an ever-evolving type thing and go with more frequent with the idea that you're going to go back and make all of them better over time, I would say that would be a good combination of the two that'll get you some really great results.
And here's just one blog article that I put in the chat. It'll be in the show notes as well on blog ideas. All right. And just to finish up here, we have a couple more. The anchor text may devalue your link juice, basically. So when you link to items, or if you have items linked, other websites linked to you, if they have weird text that doesn't have to do with you, for example, if I had cat food as my website and I have all of these links that have nothing to do, they all have dog food links, that's not going to help me out. So it has to be, it can't deviate from the original page content. You can't make a whole website about one item and then change it to another. So that's a big kind of like black hat SEO technique. And then fresh content, versus older content. That's what we touched on earlier is sometimes older content is better because it's more relevant, and Google can actually measure that based on the results and how long people stay on the page. So it really just depends on, how, not always the freshest is not always the best. And then that's why you'll see old results too. Sometimes if you Google something, you'll see an article from 2012 or something and it'll rank above a 2016 article, and that's
Well,
why it's going by the stats.
yeah, and a lot of that's just maybe the bounce rate of the page is really low. So people go to the page, they're really engaged in it, and they spend a lot of time on the page, and then they click and go even deeper into the website. And let's say that's competing with a newer article that there's a huge bounce rate on, where people are going to the article and then they leave without further engaging in the website. And that could be one factor that's keeping that newer article from ranking above the older article, because the older one may do a better job at engaging the person and having them move through the website, which means it would have a very low bounce rate.
Right.
All right, Rob, can you sort of summarize for us at this point?
Sure, I would say this is probably the most important point of this whole article is that you don't want to just, a lot of companies, especially bigger companies, will just update pages for just the sake of updating pages. If it's not adding anything to your audience, and if you're not really improving your stats and giving out fresh links and you're getting more clicks, it's really not doing anything, and over time Google will realize that because of all of these stats. So even though Google can't read your page, the readers that are actually reading your page, Google can take those numbers and realize if you're actually updating to make the article better or if you're updating just to update. So overall, just keep your content very fresh and take out anything that's not relevant to your current audience, and just keep adding new content, and Google will recognize that, crawl you, and you'll rank above your competitors.
All right. Well, as usual, Robin did a great job. We appreciate your help on that, and very informative. I heard that Paul wants to sort of tell us about something new that's happening around Awesome Dynamic.
First, I wanted to thank Ira for asking us a question today that was a really relevant, awesome question, and please don't hesitate to come back to our webinars, ask those questions. We love helping folks with their specific issues, because that's where what we're doing here at Awesome Dynamic through these webinars really becomes really relevant to you. So that's where please come in, ask questions that you would like answered about your specific situation. We'd love to pull up your website, take a look at some of your blogs. Maybe on our next segment, if you had something pertaining to Amazon, we could answer some of those questions. But as we go from topic to topic, if there's something relevant to you, please ask us to take a look. We'd love to pull that up on the screen, because those examples help everybody. With that being said, Terry, I know you're about to talk there, but I wanted to promote that one piece that is new, and it's a new 6-week course that we're going to have. It's going to start on January 18th. So I know we're a little under a half year away from this. We're in August now, so about 5 months away. And this is going to be a really comprehensive course, all the things you need to care about for SEO in 2017. So we're going to be telling you more about that as time comes, as time passes. But it's going to be a 6-week course, 90 minutes per course. It's going to be every Wednesday at 12:30 Central Time for 6 Wednesdays starting January 18th. So look for more details on that. That'll give you a really comprehensive idea of all the different things that go into SEO and what you should really be paying attention to as a local business. And we're going to give you a ton of our resources that we use as an SEO agency that you can tap into and use yourself. So more details on that to come. Terry,
real quick, is that going to be an online class, or is that going to be an in-person scenario?
That's going to be an online class, so anybody nationally or even internationally can attend this course, and that will be available very shortly.
Beautiful. And the last thing I just wanted to say is we were talking about the questions coming in and that kind of thing. We always want people to bring your issues, bring those to us. We want to address them. Also, anybody who's interested in having their online presence evaluated by us can get in touch with me again, Terry at awesomedynamic.com, and we can pull up your website, have a look at it, do some search results for you, and see what you're up against and how you might be able to help your overall presence. So I just want to make sure that we reminded everybody that is an option. And now I think we're going to go ahead.
One quick thing, Terry. We do have a question from Ira. He asked, how do we get to the article that we featured today? If you go to awesomedynamic.com and click on the blog link in the upper right-hand corner, it'll be the topmost blog that we have featured. So you're always able to take a look at that blog and all of our prior blogs. We got a video in almost every single one of them that's just like this. So great question. Terry, back to you.
All right. So at this point, I think we were going to transition over and start talking a little bit about Amazon, are we not?
That is correct. And Tim's going to be taking the lead on this particular article. Tim, you want to pull up our PowerPoint there?
Absolutely, I can do that.
That's not even a PowerPoint. It's a Google Slides presentation, right?
That's right. That's right. Living in the cloud. That's how we like to do it.
Living in the cloud. All right. So what's our presentation about today, Tim?
FBA fees.
All right.
Exciting stuff.
For those of you that are watching this that don't know what FBA is, it's a program through Amazon to do what, Tim?
FBA is Amazon. It stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. It's Amazon's fulfillment arm, so you don't have to ship customer orders yourself. You can rely on Amazon to take care of everything from storing your product to shipping it to providing customer service. Basically, handle the whole process from beginning to end so that you don't have to worry about it.
And Tim, I got to say, versus self-fulfillment, depending on your situation, in most cases, I feel, at least from personal experience and helping a lot of other companies with getting into the FBA program, it's like printing cash, right, Tim?
like printing cash. I like that term. Yeah, it definitely helps a lot with getting what's called the buy box, and it helps with competing against other people who do ship the same product that you do. It just has such a competitive advantage over a lot of the alternatives.
Great. So let's get right into it, Tim. What's the first order of business here?
All right. So we're just going to give you a quick overview of the basics that of what kind of fees apply to every single order that's fulfilled through Amazon. So the first item that applies to every single order is the order handling fee. So this is generally a cost per order. So let's say if a customer orders one product, they get charged this, and it's generally $1 for every single item. It's $1 to be able to handle each order, and that means that even if they have multiple items in your order, so let's say it's divided by 5 items, customers only charge this order handling fee once. The next thing that a customer is charged is the pick and pack fee. So this is a per item charge. So right now the pick and pack fee is $1.06. That has generally been going up about 2 cents every year for the past few years now, but that gets applied to every single item that is in an FBA order. And then probably the most impactful item is the weight handling fee. The weight handling fee will vary greatly depending on how much your product weighs, and we're going to have a chart here that kind of shows what this all looks like. So if you see on Amazon's Amazon Seller Central, there is a whole page that shows you the breakdown of every single fulfillment fee, and for most items, they fit into the standard size category, and you can see here a breakdown of what all the different pricing is. So as you can see, order handling fee per order is $1, whether it's a small standard size unit or large standard size units. Pick and pack is $1.06. Again, doesn't matter if it's a small or large standard size. And then weight handling starts at 50 cents if it's under a pound, or 96 cents if it's a large one and under a pound, and kind of goes up from there.
So keeping in mind the size here, and I want to tell a quick story about how why size matters. And that's where it matters, because it can really reflect on your bottom line. And the story that I wanted to tell was about a plastics manufacturer, large plastics manufacturer we're working with, that had a set of cups that was in an 8-inch by 8-inch by 8-inch box. And this box because the smallest side has to be less than 8 inches, and that's what the box said on
Correct.
the outside of the box. But that's actually the internal dimensions, not the external dimensions. So when you actually took a ruler to it or took a tape measure to it, it was actually 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. And because the smallest side exceeded 8 inches, they were paying extra money as an oversized item for that unit, and they were selling hundreds per week. And I
Correct.
think at the time it was on the order of maybe $2 a piece extra.
And as you can see, I'm looking at Amazon's fee schedule for oversized items, and you can see right here, oversized pick and pack per unit jumps up automatically to $4.09. Luckily, thank God they don't charge you an order handling fee, but yeah, starts at $2.06 and goes up from there.
So that could
So
make a huge impact on your bottom line. Hundreds of units times $2 extra, $3 extra could be a huge difference. So as you're taking a look at your different SKUs that you have in your product inventory, if you're a large manufacturer, or even if you're looking to get started on Amazon, regardless of where you're at, really pay attention to the size of the package because, like I said, size matters and it can really impact your bottom line significantly.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's the breakdown of your standard fees for shipping products through Amazon. But there's a lot more to FBA than just shipping orders. There's a lot of other maintenance fees and everything else that go into this. So that's what we're going to move into now, is all the different miscellaneous FBA fees. Do we have any questions before we moved on to this?
I don't think we have any here. Terry, is this have you gotten any questions from folks regarding some of the FBA fees? Is that a question you get quite often?
Yeah, I mean, people are generally looking just to get an idea on what their costs are going to be. So this is going to be very handy for us to use and keep people informed. Comes up pretty much in every conversation. This is great, but what's it going to cost me?
So Tim, why don't you get on to the next point, and then I want to tell another story about how FBA can really change and impact the how much you can sell on Amazon. So go ahead,
Absolutely.
Tim.
All right. So the first miscellaneous FBA fee that I want to cover is the monthly inventory storage fees. So this varies, and it's gone up every single year over the last several years. Storage costs and everything else, just like everything else, goes up. And it's starting this year. They actually are going to have a different storage fee for the months during the holiday season. So I believe it's from October through December. They're going to be significantly higher. And that's because Amazon has started to see that a lot of people are sending in inventory to FBA, taking advantage of it. And they really want to make sure that inventory that goes into Amazon has a quick turnaround. A lot of people want to use Amazon to just store a ton of inventory there, but Amazon really discourages it. And that's why we oftentimes recommend what's called just-in-time inventory placement, where you just ship in inventory that will be turned around in around a month or so. Was there anything you wanted to add to that, Paul?
Yeah, the monthly storage fees. That's something where it's by the cubic volume averaged
Right.
over a month. And for small products, it really isn't a lot of money. But where it could really be huge money for you in terms of storage is when you have items that take up a lot of room, obviously, and the units that are just sitting there. So a lot of we've worked with so many people that really are excited to get into Amazon, and I had one customer that sent in 15 pallets of stuff when he started. And I advised against it. I said, let's start off with a little bit, see how it goes, and then send in more. But you can imagine that there were a lot of fees with that. Some of the product moved quite well, but some of it didn't. And the stuff that didn't happened to be larger type boxes, and that incurred some significant storage fees. So it's good to have some sort of predictability in terms of how soon you think your inventory is going to move. And yeah, the term is really just-in-time inventory. So that's really the model that you want to use to be able to keep your stuff in stock, especially if it's larger. If it's smaller, the fees are actually quite nominal for storing stuff, and then it frees up room at your facility. So, and then they also have a program called multi-channel fulfillment, which I won't get into now, but you can actually use Amazon as your storage place and your fulfillment network for things outside of Amazon.
Correct.
So that's a strategy you can use too, especially if the storage for your size unit really makes sense.
And so Paul was kind of starting to allude the whole idea that if your inventory stays in there in the fulfillment centers for too long, then it can be subject to what's called long-term storage fees. So long-term storage fees take effect when a product has been in inventory for longer than 6 months, and they assess these long-term storage fees twice a year. I believe it's every February and every August. So the next actual long-term storage fee date is actually in 4 days. Today is August 11th. It's going to be August 15th is going to be the next long-term storage fee cutoff date, where Amazon asks that you either remove inventory or sell through it by discounting it, or have them do other means of disposal to get rid of your inventory. Sometimes it's economical just to leave it in there if you know it's going to move, but it is a significantly higher rate that they charge you based on how much is in there that has been in there for longer than 6 months. All right, so next item that I wanted to cover is removal order fees. So this kind of, I again alluded to this a little bit with the long-term storage fees. You do have the option to be able to have Amazon send back your inventory to you. The cost per item to do that is 50 cents. And what we've seen is that sometimes Amazon will actually run promotions where if they're really trying to get rid of a bunch of excess inventory in their warehouses, right now they're offering a promotion where most sellers can actually have 0 removal order fee for all of their items in an attempt to get rid of all the excess inventory. But it's something that you need to remove either excess inventory. It also can be used for returns. Let's say if a customer returns an item and it's damaged, or let's say it's damaged in an Amazon warehouse, we oftentimes recommend removing it from Amazon so you can inspect it and then send it back in if it's still good. But 50 cents per item to have those removed.
I got a funny story on that one.
Mm-hmm.
When I was getting married, remember when I said I was going to pack up a box of all the things that I needed to ship down to Florida for our cruise wedding? And I was gonna put it in as a unit in Amazon and then recall it to the place I was in Florida so I could get really cheap shipping instead of paying the baggage fees and everything else for like the 400 pounds of stuff that I wanted to send in.
I have a feeling that'd probably be against Amazon's terms of service. I'm just taking a guess.
Exactly. So I was like, how can I make this happen? But the reason why that isn't feasible because sometimes the stuff just disappears in Amazon's warehouse, and of course they reimburse you for that. And there were quite a few sentimental things we were bringing down for our wedding, so that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. All right. All right. So next item that we have to cover is the return processing fees. Okay. So let's say if a customer wants to return an item to Amazon. As I said before, Amazon does cover all of your customer service, but there's a fee to be able to return an item from the customer back to the Amazon warehouse. So usually you'll see in your transactions for like an order, you'll see that there was a return processing fee attached to it, and so you were refunded less than what you were initially paid for. So that is something that can affect you. Unplanned service fees. So now we're starting to get into what happens to get your inventory into Amazon. So I believe we talked, so it was either last week or the week before that we talked extensively about labeling your product and prepping your product for Amazon FBA. So unplanned service fees basically will cover any miscellaneous work that needs to be done to be able to properly prepare your product for the FBA program. So if you fail to put stickers onto your product, if you fail to bag it correctly or put the right kind of protection in place, then Amazon can charge you an unspecified, unplanned service fee per unit to be able to correct that problem. So it's extremely important to make sure that you follow all the guidelines whenever you do create a shipment and prep all your products to go into Amazon. The next thing, if you do, and we talked about this last time, was the whole idea of doing labels. Amazon can affix a label to each of your products for 20 cents a unit. That is not available to all products, but it is available to most. But that is something that you can just have Amazon take care of that for you. As well as if you plan on having Amazon prep the product for you, there is a smaller fee for doing that. It's those unplanned service fees, which are extremely expensive and something that you want to avoid. If you do that too often, it also can impact your ability to be able to sell on the platform or use the FBA program. So make sure you follow those guidelines for prepping your product or enable these other label and prep services for your product instead. And then I think this is the second to last item here, inventory placement service. So this actually is I feel like this is starting to become obsolete. Amazon, whenever you create a shipment, they will specify, like let's say if I want to send 20 cups into Amazon, I tell Amazon I want to send in 20 cups, and Amazon will then come back and say, okay, of those 20 cups, I want you to send in 7 to one warehouse over in Florida. I want you to send in 3 to another warehouse in Illinois, and then I want you to send in the last 10 out to California. That is not a very economical way of doing that. Amazon has been consolidating a lot of the shipments, and they've been actually doing more of a distribution model recently. All of our recent shipments have been just going to one of our local fulfillment centers, which is really nice, so we don't have to worry about them splitting up the shipments. However, Amazon does allow you to do what's called the inventory placement service, where they will have you ship everything all the time to one location, and then they will distribute the product throughout their network, but there is an additional fee in order to do that.
The other strategy that you can use, Tim, and we talked about this, is making up case packs based on
correct
how many shipments you're willing to do. So the Amazon will tell you that you need to, basically you get your case and then you have your inner cases of your product, and they'll say, okay, well, tell us how many are in your inner cases that are in there. Then you can debox all your stuff and put it in larger boxes, so long as they don't exceed, 50 pounds or 2 feet in any direction. And
50 pounds, and then it's 25 inches in any direction. Yeah.
So just over 25 inches. So that's where, and the details matter, but that's where you could have a case that's 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet, 24 inches cubed. You could put as many as you could fit in there, so long as it doesn't exceed 50 pounds, and you could have a case of 15 and another case of 15 and one case of 12, and so long as you create separate FBA shipments, they're not going to have a problem with that, and then you only have 3 boxes to send out. So that's where you can kind of strategically do that if you're going to be using UPS to send your stuff in. But if you're doing LTL or FTL shipment, that's a whole different story.
I think they still can designate how much goes where with LTL shipments, and they do offer placement service for LTL shipments as well, if needed.
Well, with the FTL, you get a full truckload, so
right.
That's only going one place.
Right, but they still may create your shipments independently and tell you what to ship where first before you tell them it's even FTL.
Okay.
So,
great.
All right, cool. So the last thing that we wanted to cover is, we covered how much it is for all the different fulfillment fees, and you may have noticed in the previous slide that there is a whole other column called zero fee fulfillment. I'm sorry, you know what? I jumped ahead of myself. My apologies. I didn't have this in here. Multi-channel fulfillment. Let's talk about that first. Multi-channel fulfillment is where you can, like Paul was alluding to earlier, where you can actually have Amazon fulfill all your orders for channels outside of Amazon. So let's say you sell through your own website or sell through eBay or wherever you want. You can actually have Amazon provide the fulfillment process, so they will actually ship out the product out to the customer for you. They don't provide all the customer service and everything else, and generally the fulfillment fees are higher, but the strict advantage is that you aren't charged Amazon's referral fee, which is something that we didn't really even go over at all through this, but it can be more economical and more convenient to just have Amazon fulfill all the orders. The one thing to keep in mind about multi-channel fulfillment is that they used to offer the option to be able to have unmarked boxes, so unbranded Amazon so boxes that are not branded as Amazon boxes for an additional fee to be sent out to the customer. That has gone away. That is a very recent change where now you can't have that option at all. So that's something just to keep in mind if that's something that was appealing to you. That's something that they will not be able to do anymore. Is there anything you want to add before? Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. So the one thing that I was going to say is it's just really helpful to use that service if just to keep everything in one spot. If you don't want to be processing shipments at your facility anymore, whether that's your manufacturing facility or if you're just starting out of your house, if you just don't want to be doing the packing and shipping, what's beautiful about the multi-channel fulfillment, if you're selling on eBay, on your own website, or anywhere, or you just have somebody who calls up, hey, can I get one of these things? You just pop right into your Amazon interface, put in their name and address, where you want to go, what kind of shipping you want, and hit send. Amazon takes care of the rest. So it really is a completely hands-off fulfillment process outside of the standard Amazon framework in terms of your commissions and everything else. It is a different fee structure specifically for that, and we could probably even do a whole webinar segment just on multi-channel fulfillment, and it is less than if someone had bought it on Amazon in terms of the fees that you pay, but it's really convenient to be able to use that, where you just pop into the web interface, put in the information, boom, the product goes out, and your customer is going to get the product, and you don't have to lift a finger in terms of a tape gun, boxing it up, and all that other stuff.
So, a question on that. So you're saying you, as the merchant selling it, you never have to touch the product. You can just get it straight from the merchant and send it straight to straight from the manufacturer and send it straight to Amazon, or do you still have to get it to your house and then send it all the boxes into Amazon?
Oh, so you mean like me?
Are we back online here?
Yes.
Oh wow, yeah. So it wasn't just me, huh?
No, it looks
That's what I
like we all
thought.
came down. Do you want to pull that back up and we'll finish up?
Yes, my apology. I don't know what happened there. Must have been a technical issue. All right, so I was in the middle of trying to answer Robin's question here, and I was just trying to get some clarification on it. Robin asked me, and I want to clarify. So if I purchase product from a manufacturer and I want to sell that through Amazon, was your question, can I just send that directly to Amazon?
Yeah, so you never touch the product, straight from the manufacturer's warehouse to Amazon's warehouse.
Yes, you can. However, we highly recommend against it, mostly because there is there's an amount of responsibility that you have as a seller to make sure that the product is 100% in good order, I guess you could say. Make sure there's no broken units.
Yeah, you just want to make sure your stuff.
Yeah, all your
You're not going to start incurring all sorts of dings from Amazon for not having the labels on correct, for the product being broken, it being in bags that don't have choke hazard labels, it's falling apart. We've heard lots of horror stories of if you don't know for sure it's going to get there exactly the way you need it to, there could be a whole bunch of issues because of that.
Correct. Well, if you have a really good relationship with your manufacturer and you know that they're going to do it correctly, then yes, Amazon does. Basically, you can just partner with your carrier and have them, or partner with your manufacturer and have them just send directly to the Amazon fulfillment center. But you have to pretty much set up the shipment first, then coordinate all the information over, which we're actually going to talk a little bit more. I know we're kind of running out of time here, but I just want to touch a little bit on the fact that there are some options for shipping into Amazon. All right, so last thing that I want to talk about miscellaneous fees is the zero fee fulfillments. So on some products, so let's say if it's a product that retails and sells for more than $300, then you qualify for zero fee fulfillments, where Amazon will ship the product for you and will not charge you any fees to be able to do that. So there's a lot of little qualifiers in there, but essentially it's an incentive to be able to have more expensive, more higher-end products on the Amazon platform.
Cool. Then, Tim, the one thing that I didn't see in the slide presentation, maybe it's not 100% relevant here, but there's also the opportunity to get money back from Amazon with these different returns. So if a return isn't reconciled correctly,
Right.
Amazon doesn't always necessarily follow through with refunding you that money that they charge you. So if a customer returns a product and they charge your account for it and the product never actually gets back to Amazon, Amazon doesn't necessarily, yeah, they're supposed to refund that charge to you, but that doesn't mean it actually happened. So there's a whole process to reconcile the FBA return fee to make sure that you're getting all your money back.
Yeah, those reimbursed returns is what they call it. So.
Right. Well, the most exciting part about the FBA program that I really try and get folks excited about is the next slide here. So, Tim, why don't you get into the inbound shipping discounts?
Yeah, so essentially, Amazon has different partner carriers where they offer deeply discounted rates to ship in all your inventory to Amazon. The biggest one is the small parcel delivery, which is UPS. Generally, it's about 70% off of retail rates to send in your inventory to Amazon. Then there's that up to 80%. So it just depends on where it's going, where it's coming from, and all of that. But it's just a great way to be able to get your product in there and not have it really hit your bottom line too much.
Great. So any other questions from Terry or Robin? We wrapped up our presentation here, but we want to make sure that we're answering any questions that you have on the FBA fees.
No, not for me. I think we did a really good job of filling up people in on all the different fees, and that will be a help for me down the road because I do get asked by just about every potential client we talk to.
Well, we're gonna go ahead, Robin.
I was going to say, you're required to do returns under Amazon FBA?
Yes, so you really don't have a return policy that you can set yourself if you use the FBA program. You're pretty much held to Amazon's standard return policy for everything. And it's important to be very customer-centric in all Amazon dealings, which I think we can't stress enough, is that if a customer is really unhappy about a product that they received and they left you negative feedback on it, we always really encourage you to be as positive as possible to send, to offer them a refund and maybe even offer to send a replacement product at no charge. Depending on the cost of your product, that can be feasible, it cannot be. But yeah, it's something where you just want to be overly generous because a couple bad reviews on your product or on your seller account can be very detrimental. You
know what? The interesting thing there, we get some folks that get really upset about returns. Somebody returned this, and they just really upset. I want them to prove that it didn't work. And it's like, it's not worth it. Look at it as an opportunity to get a 5-star review or 5-star feedback. Tell them, you know what? I refunded your money. You should never be unhappy with something that you purchased. I refunded your money. I can send you another product that's similar. You could do a lot of other things to really go above and beyond what a typical retailer would do to make that person happy, because then you're going to get possibly a 5-star instead of getting a 1-star review and getting them angry. And remember, it's about the whole grand scheme of things of selling on Amazon, not that one particular customer in that particular situation. You got to think big picture, because that 5-star review that they could give you as a result of you having awesome customer service that goes above and beyond could really help you in the future.
Absolutely.
All right.
And any business, the negative response the negative response will tell 20 people, and somebody who loves what you did might tell 1 or 2 people. So it's always in your best interest, whether it's on Amazon or anybody else, to be customer-centric and to make sure that you have happy customers that will keep referring you other customers.
Exactly. So I guess we're going to wrap it up here. That was a great presentation on FBA fees. We got into a lot of depth there. We got a lot of questions on this. We're going to make this into a video, and we're going to be able to send this out to folks that have questions about this in detail because we went through it all just now. Thank you for joining us. Terry, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming. We're here every Thursday. Check our times on awesomedynamic.com. Awesomedynamic.com is also where you can give us a 5-star Google review should you have valued everything that you heard today. Keep us in mind for questions. Bring them every time. And if you'd like to be featured on this show, get in touch with me, Terry, at awesomedynamic.com. We appreciate you being here. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.